and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan, and today we're talking about differentials for Game Week 9 onwards. I love talking about differentials, I love picking differentials, and I also love sharing them with you. So guys, I know these videos don't usually do super well, but if you do enjoy these kind of differentials videos, please do make sure you drop a like, and do subscribe if you're new around here. We are on the road to 200,000 subscribers. Let's have a look at some of these players. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, differentials are low-owned players that can really make a difference to your mini-league. Like, not a lot of people are going to be picking these players, and I've got some honourable mentions I want to start off the video with before I go on to the main ones that I want to talk about in more detail today. But these picks are definitely really nice players that you can just shove into your FPL team that could be a big difference maker that not too many other people are going for in FPL right now. So, we've got the likes of Diaby. He is still differential. Not too many people are going for him, but we've spoken about him a lot already, so I didn't want to include him in the main list. But super good differential at 12.5% owned. He is still not owned by too many people. Same with Darwin Nunez. These two players in particular, I think, are going to do really well and score the big points. You know, we're talking about nice, decent amount of points, not just little players that get you cheeky points here and there. We're talking big hitters, and I think these two players are going to be that indeed. We've got Gabriel here. A lot of people worried about going for him, nervous about going for him. He's at 12% ownership, but among active players, I imagine it will be a lot lower than that. We've got Pedro Porro here. Could be the difference between him and Adogi. Porro is looking a little bit better in attack. Gordon, we've spoken about a little bit before as well. I like Raya for a 4.8 million goalkeeper. A lot of people going for cheaper goalkeepers at the moment, but Arsenal are putting up some insane defensive numbers. Raya is making saves as well. So if he can lock himself in as that main Arsenal goalkeeper, 4.8 million is actually a really decent price for a goalkeeper who makes saves in one of the best defenses in the league. You can't really go wrong there. Solanke is a decent-ish pick. When his fixtures start to look better, maybe he is going to be able to get more FPL returns. He is hopefully going to be on penalties as well for Bournemouth, so that's going to be another string to his bow. Johnston is doing really well, and particularly with Henderson now out injured long-term, Johnston is going to be the main goalkeeper for Crystal Palace, who are getting a lot of clean sheets recently, it has to be said. So foul, if you want to go for a West Ham defender, I don't love West Ham defensively right now, but it should be said that So Foul has got assists in each of his last 4 games now. So he's actually managing to create a little bit for this West Ham team, who have some good fixtures coming up. So maybe the defensive numbers of West Ham can turn around now they have some much better fixtures, and you're always going to get that chance of assists with a player like So Foul, or, you know, a fullback like that. Dalot is an interesting one. Maybe he can grab something for Manchester United. Again, they have decent fixtures. Got Sheffield United up next. If you think there's going to be a time where United do keep a clean sheet, maybe it's going to be that game, and Dalot is good for attacking returns as well. We've got Solskjaer, who is, I know, very controversial here. But yeah, he's actually being more of a kind of an attacking player recently. He's been freed up quite a lot because of the system the West Ham are playing at the moment. And we are seeing him grab the odd goal in all competitions, really. So Solskjaer, yeah, a sneaky little punt at 4.9 million. If you're really looking to find that enabler, that budget enabler in your team, you need to go for someone super cheap. Maybe Solskjaer could be the guy. That's really good price for him. But you're not going to get massive returns like you would get from, you know, like a Diaby or a Darwin, or, you know, and even more massive returns like from a Salah or someone like that. But look, it's a cheeky differential, right? We've got Branthwaite here as well, a 4 million defender. Not a lot of people are going for Branthwaite as their 4 million defender, but I say, why not? He seems to be nailed on in this Everton team right now. Everton actually putting up some pretty decent defensive numbers, despite the fact they do seem to concede goals this season. Maybe that's just the Everton effect. But we did see, obviously, Everton get a really nice result against Bournemouth in Game Week 8. Maybe that's going to be the start of something new, and Branthwaite could be the guy to get you into that Everton defence in a really cheap way. He's going to be a good bench player, really, and you kind of maybe play him now and then. You're not going to look to play him every single game week, but honestly, if I'm on a wild card right now and I'm trying to pick a 4 million defender, Branthwaite is probably going to be the guy, and he's only 0.7% owned. So super differential and a nice little player to put into those wildcard teams potentially, or if you're looking to downgrade one of your bench defenders, hey, this is the guy for you. On to the main events, and we're going to start off with Neto at 8.2% ownership. But I know 8.2 is kind of a little bit of ownership, but as we go through the list, you're going to see we go to some lower and lower ownership players, to the point where we're talking about players that nobody is talking about. But Neto, yes, few people talking about him already. He's done pretty well so far, been really creative for Neto. He has been overperforming, don't get me wrong, but I like the look of these Wolves fixtures. We've got Bournemouth up next, Sheffield United in a couple of game weeks, and then Tottenham is actually a pretty decent fixture as well for him. So Neto is probably going to be the best player at Wolves right now. I think a lot of people would agree with that. He's obviously a very talented player, and hopefully he can just get better and better as Wolves seek to continue to improve their form. Neto is going to be a huge part of that one. So yeah, I actually kind of like this pick, to be fair. Yeah, it could be a decent one going forward because he's certainly doing the business so far in the Premier League. Martinelli, wow, it seems like a little while since we've spoken about this guy. I mean, we all kind of understand that Martinelli is a great FPL asset. We saw it all of last season. You know, he was a really, really good pick when he was fit and available, which was most of the season. And now, again, we have had a little injury problem with Martinelli, but he is back now and already shown that he is important to this Arsenal team, scoring against Manchester City, deflection or not. But Martinelli is recognised as Arsenal's best finisher. He's, you know, the best shooter, the most likely to score goals in game. And I know it's been all about Saka recently, but now Martinelli is going to be back. Maybe this is going to be a big change around for which Arsenal players are the best ones to go for. I still think Saka is a really, really good pick, but I do like the idea of potentially going for a double up. Now, would I do it ahead of Chelsea away? I'm not sure about that one, but after that, we've got the likes of Sheffield United and Burnley, both of these games at home. If Arsenal can score a few goals in these games, you would imagine Martinelli could be involved in that. And as he's down to 7.7 million now, he started at 8 million, down to 7.7, he could become a little bit of a bargain here and maybe an alternative to the likes of, I know a lot of people going for like James Maddison, for example. Maybe moving Maddison to Martinelli in game week 10 could actually be a really nice way to get into the Arsenal attack in a slightly more affordable way. So yeah, I'm kind of feeling this one. You guys know I'm a big Martinelli fan. He's been a great FPL asset in the past. I think he could be the exact same thing again, even more so now his price has come down just that little bit. Okay, all the way down at 2% now, so we are going to the differentials. Now, Gahey is a player I like the most because of his rotation options. Against Newcastle and Spurs, you're probably not going to want to play a Crystal Palace defender. That's completely understandable, not great fixtures. But after that, there is a lot of very good fixtures for Crystal Palace, and he rotates super well with Matty Cash in particular. So if you are a Cash owner, or you know, any Aston Villa defender you have in your team right now, and you don't want to play Cash against the tougher oppositions or the tougher attacks, I guess, then you could really switch him around with Gahey every other week or whatever. You just switch the two defenders, you rotate these two as you go. We know Crystal Palace are a really strong defence. They don't score many goals, but they don't concede many goals either. And that's going to be really beneficial if you're looking for bonus points as well. And this is a big advantage for Gahey, because when we look at baseline bonus points, so bonus points before any FPL returns are taken into consideration, Gahey is actually coming out on top most expected bonus points if there are no goals or assists scored by any of the defenders. So, you know, a lot of people go for Anderson right now, which is totally understandable. But say Crystal Palace draw 0-0, for example, it's actually more likely to be Gahey that picks up bonus points than Anderson, because Gahey performs more actions on the pitch that are they complement the bonus system. Like, he just suits the bonus system a little bit more than Anderson. Whereas when Anderson scores a goal, obviously he's a little bit more expensive, but Anderson is going to pick up those bonus points. But as a baseline, Gahey is the guy more so than any of his teammates in that defensive line. So really nice pick, should be super nailed on. 4.5 million, very cheap, rotates well, and good for bonus points as well in those low scoring games for Crystal Palace. Everything comes together and makes this 2% owned player actually a really underrated gem that not a lot of people are talking about right now. And now we're down to 1% and introducing our first forward of the main players I want to talk about today, and that is going to be Lyle Foster. Obviously, he had a little suspension not so long ago, which meant a lot of people stopped talking about him, but he's been doing really well. 2 goals and 2 assists of late. That's not too bad, really, isn't it? He's getting a decent amount of points, particularly for that 5 million price tag. So if you want to do something crazy like rotate your 8th attacker in your FPL team, or you just want to spend so much money on the rest of your FPL team that you need a super cheap forward to go up front for you, then how about Foster at 5 million? It's such a cheap price, and you are going to get a really good value for money out of him. If we're talking about points per million, this guy is definitely your guy. Now, is he going to get as many points as a Watkins or a Haaland or a Darwin Nunez? Well, let's be honest, probably not, but you get what you pay for, and I think you get quite a lot for what you pay for this. We've got some okay fixtures coming up as well for Burnley. They do continue to improve slightly later on as well. There are some nice fixtures coming up for Foster, so he is definitely a player you can play in certain games, and he seems to be the main attacking threat at Burnley, so yeah. In general, I actually don't mind him as a pick at all. Another 1%er is going to be Ezri Konsa, and again, I was looking to pick out a defender from Aston Villa that is most likely to get bonus points if there are no attacking returns. And I know a lot of people are on cash right now, but cash is getting expensive. He really is getting expensive, and he is going to start to become out of a lot of people's price range, and they might be looking for an alternative 4.5 million defender. And I feel like Konsa fits the bill. I think he does pretty well there. So yeah, let's throw Konsa in the mix here. He has got some good fixtures coming up. We know Aston Villa has some really nice fixtures coming up, so he's definitely going to be a useful player in that regard. And also, like, the bonus points are good for him as well. He's super nailed on. He's probably the most nailed on defender in the Aston Villa backline, even more so than Cash, even more so than Digne. He's cheap, and when no one's getting attacking returns, again, it's going to be Konsa a lot of the time with that great baseline bonus points. That means that if Aston Villa can manage to keep some clean sheets, and I understand that is a big if, then Konsa is maybe going to be the guy picking up bonus points. But you look at some of these fixtures, Luton Town, Nottingham Forest, Fulham as well, particularly Forest and Fulham, those two fixtures, I imagine Konsa could do quite well, because I don't think Aston Villa will score insane amount of goals in those two fixtures in game week 11 and 12. However, because they're going to be lower scoring games, and if Aston Villa can keep a clean sheet against two pretty weak attacks, Konsa is going to pick up bonus points in those games. So I can imagine him being like the kind of player who scores 7-8 points in these game weeks. And that's going to be very, very nice for a 4.5 million defender. So if you can't afford cash and you're just looking for a cheap, super nailed on defender in your FPL team right now, and you think Aston Villa's defensive form can improve, hey, Konsa is your guy. So, of course, I could not make a differentials video without talking about Cole Palmer. We saw him take a penalty in Chelsea's last game against Burnley. That was a little bit of a surprise, but is Palmer going to be the penalty taker from here on in the Chelsea team? Well, if so, that's going to be pretty good news. Now, Palmer does seem to be now have bedded himself into the Chelsea team, which means maybe he's going to get some more opportunities to play games for Chelsea. And if he can get himself nailed on at 4.9 million, that is a really, really good price for him. He's getting goals, he's getting assists, his underlying numbers look pretty decent for the amount of minutes that he has played. And if he's on penalties as well, look, that's going to be a good thing, right? The only problem with Palmer, and maybe the reason why he's not going to become one of the main players in FPL, and he's maybe going to continue to be a bit of a differential, is the fixtures, which are pretty horror. We've got Arsenal and City in the next 4, and then after that, the fixtures don't really get much better, where Chelsea have to play the likes of Newcastle and Manchester United as well. So, look, maybe things can go okay against the likes of Brentford and Spurs. Maybe Palmer is going to be more of one of those 8th attacker rotation players in your team, rather than a player you're going to play every single game week. So, that is kind of my opinion on that one. I do think he is definitely worth talking about, definitely worth considering, but the fixtures in 9 and 12 do put me off him a little bit. But as a rotation guy, I think at 4.9 million, that is obviously an insane price for what can become a main starting Chelsea attacker, particularly with no Chilwell playing as a winger anymore. There has been a slot opened up for Palmer in a way there. So yeah, look, it's I think it's looking good for Palmer. I definitely think he is a player to consider. Okay, how about a 3.9 million goalkeeper, anyone? Yeah, we haven't really had any 3.9 million goalkeepers that are going to get game time recently until now, because we have got the news that Flecken at Brentford, the main Brentford goalkeeper, he's unfortunately got, we're not exactly sure, some kind of illness or something like that. Brentford fans, maybe you can fill me in a little bit of what's going on here, but I think it's maybe being kept under wraps a little bit. But basically, Flecken is somehow unwell at the moment, and Strakosha is going to be deputising and playing as the main goalkeeper for Brentford for the next month or so. So yeah, we'll see what happens there and see how that develops. Very obviously commiserations to Flecken, whatever's going on with him. Hope he gets better soon. But in FPL, that is going to present an opportunity to go for a differential goalkeeper here, who is at a very, very cheap price. Now, Strakosha is obviously only going to be a very short-term option, but at 3.9 million, you can perhaps play him against Burnley. occasionally and then switch to, you know, like maybe a Johnston or a Areola to play from game week 10 onwards for most of those games there, and Strakosha maybe comes in occasionally. But the good thing is that Brentford, actually, they don't concede too many goals. They don't concede too many chances. They're a fairly strong defence in the Premier League. They're not top tier, don't get me wrong, but they are one of the stronger defences, and their underlying numbers put them around 4th or 5th in terms of defensive strength at the moment, judging by how many chances they concede. There's always the chance that Strakosha keeps the #1 shirt as well and stays in goal for Brentford, because Flecken hasn't had the greatest start to the season. Obviously, I think he's a very good goalkeeper, but Strakosha is maybe going to take this opportunity. You never know what's going to happen. But the point is, at 3.9 million, you get yourself an insane bargain. And at 0.8% owned, you get yourself access to a Brentford goalkeeper where pretty much no one else in the game has that access to that Brentford goalkeeper. So a really, really interesting shout if you do want to go differential in goal. And finally, Hwang Hee-chan is gotta be involved in this video. Like, he is scoring a decent amount of goals at the moment, like a weird amount of goals. Now, I have to say, I know a lot of people are kind of looking at Hee-chan's results and thinking, yeah, this player is on fire. He is a must-buy. He is overperforming a lot, and I don't know if it's sustainable. When we look historically at Hee-chan, he has not always been the greatest for getting goals. Obviously a decent player, but not necessarily a player who is going to score, you know, 15 goals a season, even 10 goals a season. Not really that kind of guy. But he's had a good start to the season, hasn't he? Really good start to the season, and we've got some really nice fixtures for Wolves coming up, as we spoke about before with Neto. Bournemouth and Sheffield United, it's pretty good. Now, the real thing here with Hee-chan is his price. 5.4 million is a bargain. You know, a lot of people are going for the likes of Neto or Gordon for their kind of cheap midfielder, but if you need to save a little bit more money, maybe Hee-chan at 5.4 could be a solution to that. I don't know if he's going to continue his form, particularly when we look at the numbers and how it doesn't really look too sustainable, but we've got some good fixtures. His numbers could always improve, and he may continue to score goals alongside his numbers improving, and in that sense, that could be a really, really good pick. So 0.7%, differential indeed, and cheap as well. Hee-chan is definitely a player worth considering, but I do want to put that kind of asterisk on him, saying the underlying numbers don't suggest that this is going to continue at its current rate. So I guess let's see what happens here, but Hee-chan should be starting games regularly from here on, and maybe be able to get yourself an odd goal against the likes of Bournemouth and Sheffield United. Why not? Hey. So that is all of the differentials I have for you today, but if you've got any others of your own that you want to talk about, leave a comment, let me know, and I guess I'll let you know what I think of them, and yeah, you might be able to surprise me with some differentials that I've not even thought of. Like, kudos to you guys if you can manage to do that one. If you did enjoy this one, drop a like. Obviously, these videos aren't super popular, but I love making them, so yeah, I'm making them anyway. But yeah, would appreciate any support, and of course, subscribe if you're new around here. Don't forget to check out Fantasy Football Hub for a free trial, link in the description. And why not check out this video as well? Who knows? It might be a pretty good one. Worth checking out, right? Aside from that, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.